Welcome to the Opt-in Podcast. I'm Melissa Franks, your host, and this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. And today, I'm talking directly to you, the employee or the middle manager, the people manager inside of the organization. You don't own the business, you aren't the senior leader, but you are managing the doers inside of the business. We are going to be talking today about a skill that every single person must know on a growing team. If you have joined a business and it started with 2 or 3 employees and all of a sudden you're looking around and there's 10 or 15 people here, this is the episode for you. We're going to talk about the dynamics that change over time as the team gets bigger and the opportunity that you have as the manager and you have as the employee to acquire, develop, refine, and master new skills so that you can be as effective as you were in the scrappy old days when it was just you and a few, and you can break through the friction of growth to be an exceptional performer going forward. If you're an owner, maybe you're thinking, should I listen to this because she's about to tell them things that I need to be aware that they're going to do in case they do them so I have a plan? Okay, here's the deal, guys. Yes, if you own the business, if you are a senior leader, you should for sure be having this conversation. Like real talk for a second right here to the senior leaders or the owners in the room. The skills that I'm going to give your team are skills that they desperately need because they're struggling to keep you happy. They're struggling to feel productive. They're struggling to add value. And this is going to provide them relief and a framework. And next week, we are going to be talking all about you and your role and opportunity and what you get to learn and do differently now that your team is growing. So this is not so much for you to be attending and listening to this and watching and writing notes and doing all the things so you can go, gotcha, I know what you're doing. This is so that when you listen to next week's podcast where we talk all about the opportunity areas that you have, now that you have a bigger business and a bigger team, you'll be able to start to see how these two things work together really well. And the upside is that you're going to have a harmonious team that knows how to communicate and problem solve and prioritize and take decisions and continue the growth in the business in the most productive, effective way possible. So what we're going to talk about today, just to give you like the brass tacks of the whole thing, is we are going to talk about managing up. And you might be thinking, this is a veiled way of saying that we're going to be talking about pushback. That's not what we're talking about. If you know me at all, you know that I do not prescribe to the management and leadership style of push and pull and carrot and stick. Not my jam, not what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to be talking about is managing up, and it's how growing teams create clarity. It's how they reduce overwhelm, and it's how they get better results over time. The employees and all managers that can master these skills effectively are the ones that ultimately have more enjoyment at work, produce better results, and see that rewarded through bigger pay salary increases, through cash bonuses and recognition. So you have some skin in the game here. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if I need these skills? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what has probably changed inside of the business, because what happens first is that everything starts to feel hard. And you know this because you're in a growing business. So like every phase of growth, before you level out, get everything kind of harmonized, and you start operating in the new way of doing things based on the size of the business that you are, every phase of that growth feels extremely hard. And if your team has gone from 2 to 10 people, for example, how you work together, the various personalities and communication styles and working rhythms and all of those things become materially different. If you need to start acquiring the skill of managing up, it's because your work is starting to feel heavier. You can see revenue growing. So like, you know, hey, the business is doing great things. It's growing and it's thriving and it's doing all the things, but why is it so hard? Why am I up so late? Why can I never get ahead of anything? It's because there's silent pressure on you to just handle it. to just get it done. And here's the nuance is in those early days when it's just a couple of you and you're just starting to get your sea legs, it feels scrappy. You do enter the room and the conversation every time with like, we're just going to figure it out. I'm just going to handle it. It's going to be fine. And long term, living in that environment, it will add pressure. It will be exhausting. It will be more than you can bear. So one of the things you have to remember is that tiny team that you were in, that 2-person team, that scrappy, do it all costs, everybody roll up their sleeves and get it done, and late nights and weekend work, what worked down there will break and or is broken when there is hierarchy in place, when there are multiple layers of management, when the team gets bigger. What worked when you were small will not work when you are big. And it is true for everything. So we talk about this a lot. What you did to get the first million isn't what's going to take you to get to the next 10. You have to do things differently. This is one of those things that you have to do differently. The cool thing is that you're not that tiny business anymore. The challenging thing is you're not that tiny business anymore. And we're going to talk about what that means. So the first thing that starts to get tricky is that you used to be able to just do what you were asked. You used to be able to. And the reason you was because one person was doing the asking and one person was doing the doing, you. And so there was clarity around your priorities and timelines and decision making and trade-offs. Because at the end of the day, it was the requester and the doer, and that was all that was happening. When your team grows, just do what you're asked becomes impossible because there's more people asking than there once was. You have multiple inputs, you have multiple priorities, and there literally is no filter. Stuff is coming in from all over the place, including from you, because likely you have been given autonomy. Likely you have given some level of authority in the business. So not only are you getting work requests and things directed at you, you're also carrying around this list of stuff that you know you've got to get done. And either it's stuff that you've always done that has to fit into the gaps, or it's new things you want to improve. But regardless, you can't just do what you were asked because it's an impossible task to just do it. You also, and this is where things get sticky, you're getting feedback from different directions. And this can be problematic because the feedback may be contradictory. The owner may tell you one thing and your manager may tell you another, and then you don't know what to do. It's like you're playing monkey in the middle. Well, do I make the owner happy or do I make my manager happy? And how do I get mom and dad to talk to each other? What am I supposed to do? And sometimes, because the feedback is literally showing up out of thin air and you don't know what's going on, it can start to feel oppressive. You can start to wonder, am I actually doing a good job? Did I actually get anything done? Am I failing at this? This takes an emotional toll on you, or if you're managing the team, it takes one on the team. It means that there ends up being stress, longer, later hours, decision fatigue, and ultimately efficiency and productivity slows down. And this is where teams get it wrong. So what ends up happening is the leaders see, I'm asking you to do things and you're not doing them. You're doing things late. You're doing things with poor quality. I don't understand why you aren't working the way you used to. These are all symptoms that you, the middle manager, see, or hey, owner, if you're still listening to this, you're going to see. You, the employee, are going to feel that pressure. I used to do a better job. I used to be able to do this. I feel horrible about everything I'm doing. Why is my quality decreasing? And it's not because you're overwhelmed. I want to reframe that. This is not a case where there's a skill mismatch. It's not a case where you don't know how to do your job. You're not overwhelmed. The issue is that you don't have enough capacity to be able to manage all of the inputs. That's all this is. This is a capacity issue, not an overwhelm. What it is it's a prioritization and a communication issue. Because the reality is there's always going to be more work to do inside of the business than time to do it. The reality is that we are human. So we are all going to make mistakes and have a learning curve and have room for improvement. There is nobody on this planet that has become so good at doing something that they cannot make something better. Professional athletes will even tell you that to this day, even if they have been playing the sport for decades, they are continuing to run the same drills over and over and over and over again because there are slight tweaks they can make to be better than they were the day before. So throw out the window that perfect is going to work here, that is just a skill situation, because that's not what's happening here, not by a long shot. What the reality is that you need the ability to manage up. And what managing up is it's finding a way to communicate effectively so that you can appropriately manage the capacity you have to do the work in front of you. That's it. Managing up is a communication tactic and tool. And it sounds gross because it has been framed as gross. It's basically like anytime I hear somebody talk about managing up, I want to rebrand it. I want to call it something else. I'll come up with something cute. But every time I hear somebody talk about managing up, it lends itself to a conversation around coercion or manipulation of the leaders so you get what you want. And that is not what I am talking about. That is not what I am talking about at all. And I am also not talking about pushback. This is not one of those things where it becomes us against them and I'm going to win. Okay? Managing up is a communication tactic and tool that helps priorities get set. So, managing up is not, take notes here, friends. Managing up is not saying no. Managing up is not complaining. And managing up is not being difficult. What managing up is synthesizing information, clarifying trade-offs, and making informed recommendations. Do you see how these are stark in their differences? If you perceive managing up to be where you are saying no and you're sticking in your ground and you're complaining about other people and you're being difficult to work with and difficult to get productivity out of, that just means that you are being a difficult employee. You, in fact, are not managing up at all. You're creating conflict where conflict doesn't need to exist. When you manage up effectively and you communicate with all of the appropriate tools, tactics, frameworks, methodologies, you pick the word, you are simplifying the information that you are sharing so that you can clarify trade-offs and you can make informed recommendations. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. I'm not going to recommend you get a book. I'm not going to recommend that you take a course. I'm literally going to tell you right now what to do. Are you ready? Write it down. The Managing Up framework. Here we go. Step number 1, capture everything. Write it down. Put it in notes. Voice note it to yourself, whatever. One central place where you have requests, feedback, ideas, and deadlines. Everything that you write down. Where did it come from? Who asked for it? What did they say explicitly? What do they expect the outcome to be? And by when? Every single thing. This is not a to-do list. If you want to look at this as a project list, do that. But you want to capture everything. When somebody asks you to do something that is not a 2-second answer, it is I have to set this over here because I need to think about it. I need to work on it. I need to do something about it. This is going to take some time. That's when you capture it. Write it down. Who asked for it? What is it? When do they expect a solution or a response or an output? What do they expect to get from it? And by when, right? Capture everything. Then, step number 2. Pause before executing. Do not just do. Do not. There are going to be moments in time where there is an emergency, and we will, for another day, we'll talk about emergencies. There's an emergency inside of the business and you have to drop everything and you have to focus on that. This is not that. These are the requests that come up in Slack and email and Teams and text messages and voice note and in a live meeting, okay? So pause. Step number 2 is pause before executing. Do not say yes. Do not commit to the timeline. Do not confirm the deliverables or output. Capture the information. Do not confirm. Do not say yes. What this also is going to allow you to do when you pause is that you are going to be able to eliminate the unintentional emotional response you may provide. We have all been there. Raise your hand in your car wherever you're listening to this if you have been there. We have all been there when somebody has asked for something that we perceive to be ridiculous. Maybe the request is ridiculous. Maybe the timeline is ridiculous. Maybe the way it was asked for is a little bit off-putting. And you feel it in your belly rise up. You're like, oh, I don't want to do this just because you're being ridiculous. I don't want to do this because I don't see a need. I don't want to do this because you haven't helped me in a while, right? It has you, like, you start to feel a certain way. As soon as you start to feel a certain way about a request, pause. Capture all the information. Let it sit there. Let it sit there. Okay? And this will be a list. This will be a log of things. We all get requests all day long, every single day. Okay? And depending on the speed and the rhythm of the business, what you're going to do next is step 3, and you're going to bring it to your direct manager. Okay? It could be that you get 1 ad hoc request a week. It could be that you get 17 a day. I don't know. I don't know your business, and I don't know how it goes. So, on the slow end of the spectrum, I recommend that you go through this log or list with your manager weekly in your one-on-ones. If you have one-on-ones monthly and the volume and velocity and the urgency around some of these things on your list can't wait, then schedule an ad hoc conversation. Then swing by their desk. Then say, hey, can we go get a coffee? You have to use what you know about the business and the business rhythms and the deadlines that have been given to you and all of the other things on your plate to decide when you're going to bring it to our direct manager. Now, I want to point out one thing very, very clearly to you right now. Before you go to your manager, I want you to go through that log, that list, all the things you've captured, and I want you to identify what are things that I know that I can do that do not require me to ask anybody about it, and indicate that on the list, okay? And then you've got the problem subset. I can't get these done in time. I don't think I should do this. I'm not sure I'm the right person for this. I'm concerned about the priority. That's what you bring to your manager. And what you do is you go to your manager and you say, based on the priorities that I'm working on now, A, B, and C, so it's the existing work, your manager is already aware of it, you know what it is, and that I was asked to do C, D, and E. So these are the things where you're like, I should do this these are the requests that came in that I need to do. This is how I can prioritize the other things. And what you do is you say to your manager, based on everything that has come in this week, here's how I think I should prioritize. Can we talk it through? And what you have done is you've captured all of the information. You've taken a big pause. You have then analyzed everything before you bring it to your manager during that pause, and you have said, what should and shouldn't I action and by when? Bonus points if you can take that capture list and you can say, like, they asked me for this by the 15th, but I think that what I really can do is by the 30th. What you're doing is you're bringing to your direct manager a recommendation and asking for input. You're putting thought into what's being asked of you. You're using what you know to be the priorities of the business are. You are using what you know your skills are. You are using what you know the cyclical rhythm of the business is. And you're saying, based on all of that information that I know and I'm aware of, and based on all of the things that I am being asked, this is how I recommend I prioritize the work, and these are the timelines and outputs I think I should do. And then talk to your manager about it. And in that conversation, you want to stay solution oriented. You may identify a couple of things where you say, I don't see that this is a priority, or I really think this belongs in a different department. Do you agree? The goal when you walk out of that conversation is that for each of the items that you captured, you know what the disposition is. You're going to do it, and by when? You're going to hand it off to somebody else, and you're going to communicate to the person that asked you for it, who you're handing it off to, and they can figure out the deadlines and due dates and outcomes. But regardless, you're going to be aligned with your manager at the end. Here are the priorities. Here are the things that I'm working on. Here's what I'm going to get them done. And what happens is step 4. You have alignment and you get to proceed. There is one agreed upon direction. Your manager has awareness about what you are going to be doing. You have clarity around the priorities and the lens for how you should be looking at this stuff, including what deliverables are expected of you or output is expected of you and the timeline associated with that. And there is one accountable owner. In some cases, it will be you, and in other cases, it will be who you hand it off to somebody else. Now, the cool thing is if you have a manager who has a department of more than just one, there are multiple people in your departments, when you have your capture list, your manager may be able to say like, yeah, all that stuff needs to get done, and these 4 things can go over to Jenny. She's kind of light right now. She can take that work. Or your manager can inverse say, hey, like this is such a great list, and Jenny had some stuff that I wanted to move over here. So can we add Jenny's items to your list, and then we can figure out the priority? Your manager knows more than you. So the cool thing is when you come in with recommendations, when you come in with like, this is how I think we should do this, and then you have a conversation that's solution oriented, you can do the best thing for the business. It's aligned with your manager, and your manager can then advocate to other people. So when there starts to become feedback coming from the top, you're not going fast enough, you should have been working on this thing, why are you working on that thing, etc. Your manager knows the context, and so they can go back and they can manage up. You don't have to. You can stay in the execution. And you do this every time you get a request. So like I said, you don't want to be at your manager's desk every 10 minutes. So like every time somebody asks you for something and you refresh the list, you don't want to run to your manager and say, can we reprioritize? We need to get this shuffled in. You need to figure out what makes sense from a rational cadence. And if you don't know, talk to your manager. So if you don't know if you should be bringing things to them twice a week or twice a month or however that works, have a conversation. Just say like, based on the speed that these are coming in, can we just check in at the end of every day to make sure I'm working on the right things tomorrow? Or you can say something like, based on the speed for these coming in, I know that we have one-on-ones monthly, but maybe we do a 15-minute sync once a week just so I can make sure that I'm right on track, and we can do it Monday or Friday or like however it shakes out, right? But like you are the one doing the work. So you are also the one that needs to raise your hand and say, I need help prioritizing, and I have some thoughts and feelings and points of view around what we should be doing. For managers, speaking to you managers, this exact framework you use with whoever you report to. You're just rolling up all of the little capture things into bigger subjects, and you are doing it with your manager or the owner, depending on where you are in the hierarchy. So what that looks like, practically speaking, is you have 2 or 3 people that work for you, and they're bringing you these lists that are like detailed tasks, right? And what you're looking at across the board is, okay, everything is moving in the right direction with this one project. So what I need to do is I need to go to my next level of management, and I need to be able to say, hey, based on the priorities and all of the work for the team, these 3 things are proceeding as agreed. This one thing, I recommend we move it out 30 days. Just recently, I was working with a client who had committed to delivery dates for, it was either 3 or 4 massive projects all at the same time. They all had the same hard fixed deadline by something that could not move. And the team was small and mighty and unable to deliver all of those things with quality on the timeline. And the conversation that I had with the owner was that sometimes we have to look at what our team can manage across the board simultaneously, and we have to reset our expectations about what we can get. And so this is why it's so important for employees and middle managers to have the framework and be able to manage up, because the farther away the owner gets from the work, the farther away they get from understanding how much capacity it takes to get something done. This is not that they're being unreasonable. It's that they literally can't see it anymore. And it's your job, because you are closer to the ground, to communicate to them what they can't see so that they can make better informed decisions and provide direction so that everybody can win. So the managing up framework makes managers better. It does not make them irrelevant. It allows managers to have visibility to what is actually going on. It allows managers to be able to advocate upward, like we were just talking about, and it allows managers to protect their team capacity. Managing up protects and strengthens the middle. It doesn't bypass it. This is why the hierarchy is so important. It's hilarious every time somebody says, let's just flatten it out and we have the owner and all the people. That comes down to a capacity issue as well. The owner cannot manage all of the people. If the owner manages all of the people, the owner can do nothing else. And we'll get overwhelmed and we'll make bad decisions. The middle is so important as the team grows, because the middle is where managing up goes up and protecting team capacity goes down. They literally are managing both directions. That's why managers manage and they don't do, because they spend all of their time thinking strategically, communicating, setting priorities, removing obstacles, communicating this way and communicating that way. They're the heart and soul of the business when they're empowered to be so. Now, you might be worried, whether you're an employee or a middle manager, about managing up. You might be thinking, I'm going to look incompetent. They're going to think that I'm resistant. They're going to think that I'm not using my brain. Maybe I should just stay quiet, figure it out, suffer in silence. Listen, I used to manage teams of hundreds on every continent in the US. And I will tell you that I had some unreasonable expectations. I asked for things with impossible timelines. I asked for them to squeeze more juice out of a contract negotiation to get a better deal. It was my job as the leader to be unreasonable. But never ever, when my managers and my directors came back to me and asked for support in prioritization and provided solutions and recommendations, did I ever think that they were incompetent? I never did. Because the reality was, what leaders do not need is silent martyrs. Silent martyrs kill culture. Silent martyrs are like a virus inside of the business, and it damages everything. What leaders need is clear thinkers. What leaders need are brave team members that are thoughtful and speak up when they see that there is a conflict or a better way. So when you master this skill, when you use this framework over and over and over and over again, when middle managers do the same, what happens is that there's less burnout. The inverse is that there's better prioritization, higher productivity, and more efficiency. You execute faster, and there is stronger trust across all of the layers and departments. Managing up is just a communication mechanism. It's a framework for how to evaluate the capacity that you have, what's being requested of you, and then communicate what to do about it. When you master these skills and they become inherent in the DNA in the business, then you work effectively. You provide leaders at every step of the way the information that they need to know to make decisions to steer the business. Managing up is how you turn chaos into clarity without burning yourself out. This is the keys to the kingdom. Now, as I mentioned, this one here was for the employees and the middle managers. Owners, if you're still here and with me, now you know. If they start to listen to this podcast and use this framework, what you're about to have fall in your lap. But and then, as I teased a little earlier, in the next episode, so next week, we're going to talk about the other side of this. We're going to talk about what owners and senior leaders must change so managing up actually works. We're going to talk about what's needed from you to enable this to work well for your teams long term. I encourage you to go back and listen to this again. If you didn't write all of those steps down and you didn't get all of the nuggets, this one is a juicy one that was very actionable. And just know that you will have peace of mind when you master this skill, that you have the ability to communicate in a way that's going to drive results in the business and help you be the best employee that you can be. So until next time, friends, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable, and I believe in you.